Hi, my name is Jennifer. I am from the administration office at the Lawrence branch, and today I'm going to share with you an activity for writing your own poem. Back when I was in college, I was an English major, and I was forced, and yes, I use the word forced, to take a creative writing class. Completely out of my wheelhouse. Anyone that knows me knows that I am an expository writer. I love writing essays, and my students back when I was teaching used to think I was absolutely crazy because they were like, why would you rather write an essay than like a short story? And it's just something that I really love to do. And so taking a creative writing class was not fun for me. It took a lot of getting out of my comfort zone. But I did come up with a couple of activities in that class that I was able to translate into the classroom when I was teaching. And one of them was a found poem. And the idea behind a found poem is that poetry is simply made up of language, and language exists everywhere. We are surrounded by it, whether it is a book, like a novel, or a short story, or a play, or a billboard, or a song on the radio, or a commercial that you see on TV, or an advertisement in a magazine. We are immersed in language, and so the idea is that because poetry is made up of language, poetry is really just waiting to be found. So it's a very fun activity, and it's also a very accessible activity. You don't need much except for some sort of text that you pick. So I'm going to take you through 3 steps to come up with a found poem. I am going to use To Kill a Mockingbird. It was a book that I had taught every year when I was teaching 8th grade. Harper Lee's novel is one of my favorite novels, and not only is it the story that she communicates and the messages, but I find her writing to just be beautiful. So the first thing that you're going to do is pick a passage. You want some sort of text to pull from. I find that imagery-based texts are very helpful because they lend themselves to sensory language, and that would lead to a very communicative poem that creates some sort of picture, but any passage that really resonates with you would work. So I'm going to read you the passage and show it to you as I read it to you so you can hear the kind of passage that would work well. So this is from the first chapter of To Kill a Mockingbird, and it is when she is describing Maycomb, the town that is the setting of the book. Maycomb was an old town, but it was a tired old town when I first knew it. In rainy weather, the streets turned to red slop. Grass grew on the sidewalks. The courthouse sagged in the square. Somehow it was hotter then. A black dog suffered on a summer's day. Bony mules hitched to Hoover carts flicked flies in the sweltering shade of the live oaks in the square. Men's stiff collars wilted by 9 in the morning. Ladies bathed before noon, after their 3 o'clock naps, and by nightfall were like soft tea cakes with frostings of sweat and sweet talcum. To this day, that is one of my favorite lines. So I have my passage. The next step is to go through your passage and either highlight or underline the words that led you to pick the passage in the first place. So I find that a helpful tip is to gravitate towards the words that communicate the most meaning, the words with the most substance. And those are going to be your nouns, your verbs, your adjectives, your adverbs. The idea is that poetry often is made up of fewer words, so we have fewer words to rely on when trying to communicate the same idea or a bigger idea. So you really want to focus on words that can communicate more. So you can see, if you're looking now at the passage I'm showing you, that I chose words like Maycomb, tired old town, rainy weather, suffered on a summer's day, courthouse sagged, the words that are really capturing the picture that Lee is trying to create. So that's step 2. Step 3 is to have a little fun. You basically now have these puzzle pieces, and it's your job to move them all around. Rearrange them, have fun with them until you create a poem that either communicates the image or idea of the original excerpt or kind of creates a new one. No one says you can't do that, right? It's poetry. And the idea about poetry, which makes it more enjoyable and more playful, is that you're not bound by, the same quote unquote rules. So I'll read you my poem, and then I encourage you afterwards to really go out, find some sort of passage from a book, from a short story, from an article you read. Maybe you could, find multiple magazines and advertisements within them and pull phrases that you see, and just have some fun and create some poetry. So here is my poem. Maycomb, an old town, suffering on a summer's day. The courthouse sags in the hot red slop. Mules flick flies in the sweltering shade. Men's collars wilt, sweet sweat frosts ladies. Maycomb, a tired old town. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you go out and find some poetry.